So I'm on my way to work, and I figured this is as good of time as any to talk about something. And the topic I want to talk about today is relationships. So I think it's really interesting. There was a time where I thought that gay relationships and straight relationships were different. And for single people, the response, reaction, and the struggles were going to be different. And I come to find out that actually all single people seem to these days be going through the same things. We're kind of in a society today of instant gratification. We're looking to meet people online, and we've kind of lost respect for each other. I think a lot of people don't feel obligated to be kind online. It's all about what somebody looks like, and if they're interesting to you within the first 3 minutes. Sometimes people won't even bother responding or being respectful. Maybe all of us have done it, and maybe all of us have had it happen, but I guess I gotta wonder, what that part's all about. I guess it's just easier and laziness. And then there's the other part where I listen to people in the salon or people that I'm working with coaching, and I've heard myself say it. Everybody out there is superficial, or everybody out there is only out for themselves. I can't find somebody with emotional intelligence. They won't show up for me. The list goes on and on. They won't meet for a date. But I have to ask, how many of us are willing to do the things that we're asking of others? Somebody's got to show up and start doing something differently, and we've lost a lot of that. I think sometimes we're afraid to be vulnerable and be the first one to take a risk and to show up in a different way and to make ourselves more transparent. I find a lot of times that the people online who are the first to say not into games are usually the first ones to, I wouldn't even say they're playing games. I think that they just don't know how to show up. I want somebody who has a real strong ability to communicate. That's important to me. But then they don't communicate. And so I think that's where there ends up being kind of a breakdown in situations is, are you going to be the thing that you're demanding? I know for myself, I've really had to change not only my attitude, but the words that I'm using. I used to joke around all the time and say, I can't wait to meet my future ex-husband. When you think about the energy that's being put out by saying something like that, and while it's said in humor, at the same time it's not so funny, because that's probably the experience I'll draw to myself if I keep saying it. Saying that people don't know how to show up and be emotionally mature, and basically saying to the universe, please draw someone to me who doesn't have anything to offer. I feel like something that's really changed for me is not just to think about what somebody can bring the table to me, but what am I willing to bring to the table? How can I offer something to somebody else? And, not go in as a half a person looking for something to be fulfilled. I don't think two half of people make one whole person. In fact, I think two halves make two halves. That's what it is. And two people who become reliant on each other for happiness. But let's be honest how that goes. When you look for somebody else for happiness, it never works out. It's a huge expectation to put on another human being, and they're never going to be able to fulfill that. So for me, I think, the last year or two has really been about healing those wounds. That's another thing. I hear people saying, I can't be in a relationship yet because I'm not ready. I think that relationships have been where I've grown the most. I think that those are the places where all the buttons that I haven't healed come really flying up to the surface, and that's really the work. When people talk about relationships are a lot of work, a lot of times the work is I have to look at stuff about myself that I didn't want to look at, and I have a choice to make whether or not I'm going to work through that stuff or not. And the person that I pick to be my partner, the question is will they stick around and work through it with me if I have the willingness, and vice versa. So I think these are really interesting things to kind of think about and to explore, what it is that you're lacking, what it is you're looking for, and what it is you're willing to bring to the table. If we continue talking about what we can't get and what people are doing wrong, then we become part of the problem rather than part of the solution. I think what I want to leave on this topic is we're all entitled to and deserving of love. And it's not a question of whether we're entitled to or that we're deserving, it's whether we believe we are. And I think people will treat us the way we treat ourselves. Taking that extra step to do something loving towards yourself and respecting yourself goes a long way. And when we have that attitude, like, we'll start doing the things that are good for ourselves and others when the right person shows up, really doesn't leave a lot of room for that person to show up. Because the truth is they just won't be attracted to you. You know, be your ultimate self, be who you're meant to be, and you'll attract who you're meant to be with. And that's my thought for today. So have a great day. Love yourself. Love somebody else. Keep an open mind. And be really careful with the words that you use as to not attract the things you don't want. Ciao.